Kristi K. Welcome to Business Life After Hours, a podcast that takes a deep dive into real-life topics at the intersection of business and life. After the workday ends, that's where we pick up. I'm honored to be here with culinary icon, a Hong Kong American chef, food writer with a strong passion for Asian American culture and heritage. Chef Martin Yan, welcome to Business Life After Hours.
I'm excited to be here.
Terrific. Well, it's an honor to be sitting here with you today, so thank you. So on this podcast, we want to talk to you about the longevity of your career. You're the host of one of, if not the longest running cooking show in the world. And it's predating everything from the Food Network to all the other cooking shows. And you've been on PBS for how many years now? 40-some?
41 to 42 years. It will be 42 years because we started on PBS KQED, which is they eventually broadcast nationally on public television, and since 1982.
Unbelievable. So what is the secret to your longevity and to the viewer interest that you have in your food and the cooking through the last 4 decades?
I think it has a lot to do with love and passion. When you love what you do, when you're passionate about what you do, you always get excited. And when you're excited, your audience are excited because I always tape in front of a live audience. I interact with the audience. I pull the audience out, maybe a few people up from the audience and come up to the kitchen stage, the counter, to taste. So it's very interactive. My show has always been interactive, and also we travel. We bring people all over the world to bring them where this dish came from, why they cook like this, why they taste like this. So we have been very, very fortunate to build an audience worldwide. Our show is broadcast at one point in 65 countries around the world.
That is amazing. And of course, Yan can cook. Tell us about the name, and so can you. Yan can cook, and so can you. I love that.
Well, you know, a lot of people always look at the chef. Oh, of course, he's a chef. She's a chef. She can do it. But what I try to tell people is everything that I show you on television, if I can do it, you can do it. So that's why I always say, if Yan can cook, so can you. If Yan cannot, don't even try.
Oh, that's great. Well, describe for us a little bit more about the specifics of your cuisine, your recipes, and how Asian cuisine has truly evolved from the early years.
When I first came over here, you probably also noticed, when I first came over here about 50 years ago, I came over here to go to school to try to get good education from in the U.S. University. And it's everybody's dream around the world. Everybody come to the U.S. It's a great country for education. So I tell myself, you know, everybody around the world, a lot of them are going, particularly children, because when I was going, I was starving. Everything was rationed in China during the time I was growing up. And I always tell myself, I got to get involved in the business, whether it's studying, education, or television. Or cooking. I want to make sure I can produce food and can share with people. And I was very, very lucky that I came over here and I get a good education from University of California. I tried to get into a University of Ohio. I couldn't get in. So I studied food science. And I think that the key is when you're passionate about what you do, you don't have to work a day of your life. And I've been, for the far past 40-some years, I have enjoyed doing exactly what I'm doing every day, like you both. You know, you got to enjoy what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now, you were an early influencer on PBS. Back in the day, Julia Child and some of those. Did you meet her?
You know, in my book, I actually show a series of photos that, because I was in television for 40-some years, and she was on television for quite a number of years. And we do a lot of fundraising, like this type of fundraising event for a public television. We always meet together, whether in Chicago or Toledo or Cincinnati or Chicago, New York. She loved Chinese food. She loved dim sum. So everywhere I go, I always take her to a dim sum restaurant and have dinner. So I have photo with her when she was younger and I was younger. And then we took photos in the span of about 30 years together.
Really?
So we spent a lot of our career going through sharing great food with people from around the country for over 30 some years.
What a dynamic duo you two are. I mean, I'm sure those of us who grew up with PBS know you two very, very well.
And also in those days, no social media. So PBS, the only network, have cooking shows and how-to shows. Now everybody's doing cooking shows. But PBS started all of these how-to shows and cooking shows. And I still stick with PBS all these years.
Amen. So what makes your culinary approach so very creative and delicious and different?
Well, there's a Chinese saying, when you travel 10,000 miles, you receive the same education, the same information, like reading 10,000 books. So when you travel, you see, you taste, you can feel it. So I travel all over the world. I travel in the last pre-COVID, I travel about 235 to 250 days a year, traveling all over to bring to you, our audience on PBS, the Yan Can Cook, the taste of Yan Can Cook. We travel to all the Chinatown around the world. Actually, that a show called My Favorite Chinatown Around the World. And that book, I have a companion cookbook. The companion cookbook was introduced by the iconic Julia Child. So I try to bring people something fresh, and not only food, but heritage, culture, why people eat, why people cook like that. And so people, the more you understand how people live, the more you're more receptive, you're more respectful of others. So I think that the key is when you travel, you're in touch with reality. You know that how lucky you are. Just like a lot of people, you know, we live in a great country with abundance of everything. But a lot of people don't have such luxury of abundance of food. And they're starving every day. A lot of people are starved to death in many parts of the world. So we're so lucky. So when people travel, they see the tragedy. They see the suffering. They learn to be more respectful, more generous, and more philanthropy, and more helpful and caring to others.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was going to ask you about that in terms of why it's so important that you've bridged cultures through your passion and your cooking shows, but you've really just answered that. And I want to talk to you more about My Chinatown and why it is so important that we protect Chinatowns across the globe.
Well, basically, we're all ambassadors. You're ambassador, I'm ambassador. We try to bring people together. And food brings people together. And culture, a lot of people were unfamiliar with other cultures, so you're a little bit suspicious. You're a little bit resistant. But once you understand a little bit more about the culture, I remember when I first come over here, there's only about 2,000 or 3,000 Chinese restaurants or Asian restaurants. Now there are 52,000 Chinese restaurants, another 18,000 Asian restaurants, and it's growing. At the same time, you see a lot of hamburger, pizza, all over the world, in China, Starbucks, all over.
Yes.
So I think food is the best media to bridge and to bring people closer together.
Oh,
it
that's
breaks down
true.
all the barrier.
Yes, it does.
It brings people closer together. So we are very lucky to be in a business that we can be the bridge, we've been the cultural ambassador to bring people together.
Mm-hmm. So how do you continuously come up with new recipes, new creative ways to approach cooking in Asian and culinary cuisine? How does that process work for you?
When you travel a lot, you meet a lot of new people, you see things, you taste food that you have never tasted before, then you are very curious, and then you want to learn from the home cooks, from the street vendors, the people's elderly lady, elderly man selling the same item on the same street corner for 50 years, doing the same thing. So they must do a good job, otherwise they won't last for 50 years, right? So we learn from each other. Mm-hmm. And then also I get a chance to meet with some of the top chefs around the world. When I'm in Australia on this trip, I bump into a lot of wonderful chefs. And they took me to the seafood market. I've never seen seafood like that, crabs, giant crab, not the Alaskan king crab. Alaskan crab, the body is about this big, and the leg is about this long. The Australian king crab, the body is this big, and the claw is this big. So when you travel, you get excited. You excite your senses. You learn. You inspire. So traveling is very important. Just like I recently, about 8 months ago, I took about 24 of the Yan Can cook fans. We went to Italy, and what I did is that the title is called Pasta Chow Mein. Pasta chow is very Italian. Pasta chow, and then chow mein is Chinese. So the title of the tour is called Pasta Chow Mein, and then I grab a whole bunch of Chinese seasoning in my briefcase, and I haul it to Italy, and Venice, and Tuscany, and all that, and cook in Italy with the local chef. And every morning, if I stop in Florence, I'll go to the stay in the hotel, and I'll go up to the local market with the head chef and pick up the local produce and vegetable. And then we come back, and he or she does the traditional Italian food. I'll do the Asian-inspired food. So everybody can learn how you can use ingredient to cook and prepare international cuisine.
So your travel has taken you how many places in the last, let's say, 6 months?
In fact, I just came back from Australia. I flew from San Francisco to Hong Kong to Sydney, and I start cooking. I start introducing, go to the local market, go to the different community, the Greek community, the German community. It's amazing how many people from the U.S., how many chefs from the U.S. I met somebody from New York. They went to open a bagel shop in Sydney. Can you imagine? In Sydney. And it's amazing. It's that he sold about 35,000 bagels a week.
No kidding.
So,
is there a chef as you're traveling that you admire in today's world? I know, of course, you and Julia Child were close. But what about now, a contemporary, someone who you really admire?
As a professional, we never stop learning. And everybody, every chef, every personality, like both of you, you have your own style. You're good in what you're doing. So there's always something that we can learn from each other. So there's a lot of great people here, like my good friend Ming Sai is very good, and Bobby Fay, and Paul Pudong, and Emerald, and a lot of these people I admire very much because they have very distinctive personality, and they are also, like me, they are also ambassadors. They promote good food, using food as a connector to connect people. Mm-hmm. So we are all doing basically the same thing. We all have different style. And there's some people doing like Lydia, that's Italian, right? And everybody's doing something different. We all are sharing all this good luck and good fortune because food brings all of us together. Mm-hmm. So they're all my heroes.
So that's interesting, too, because in my world, as a writer, a journalist, a TV host, I can get writer's block. Is there any such thing as like chef's cooking block where all of a sudden you're like, I need a new recipe, but I can't, is it ever a moment in time where you're like, okay, this isn't flowing? Or is it always just wide open frontier and you are constantly creating and developing new recipes?
Well, I think chef has a little bit more leverage in terms of creativity because according to the season, you cook with the season. Nowadays, everybody talking about farm to table. Everybody talking about supporting local farmers. So I think the whole idea is when you do that, you basically tell yourself, let's create something different. You're inspired to create. You try to help people. So I think recently I was involved in a project, the Filoli Garden in Northern California, beautiful garden. They built a community vegetable garden for children, for the kindergarten and primary school children to learn farm to table. So I helped them to put together an Asian produce area, grow all the Asian stuff like bitter melon and long beans and all kinds of stuff that they have never seen before. So this way I can show them, food is universal. It's a universal language. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from. Nowadays, you go to any places, you see pizza. You see a coffee house, a tea house, a boba tea, and also Chinese restaurant Chinese and Asian restaurant become mainstream. It doesn't know where you live. As long as the city has over 3,000 people, guarantee you there's a couple of Chinese restaurants or Asian restaurants or sushi bar or ramen noodle. So food has become universal, and people, the more you eat, the more you understand people through food, the more we are more caring, more generous, and more helpful to others.
That's beautiful. Now, this is Business Life After Hours on this podcast. So when the workday's done and you're relaxing after a long day, perhaps it's travel, what do you like to do most?
I'm a gardener. I do a lot of gardening. I spend a lot of time. I have a little koi pond. It calms me down because when you see the fish carefree swimming and they're not fighting each other and they're just taking care of each other and not try to be the king of the pond. I think you learn a lot from nature. You see, you're humbling. You kneel down, you pick up the grass, you pull the weed, and it's a humbling experience. And you think you're on top of the world, but there are a lot of people much more successful. They do much better than you. So to me, it's humility. It's about humbling. That's why gardening to me is the best way, and also it's calming, very calming, very therapeutic, and it have a peace of mind. You're not competing with anybody. The same thing to me. People like playing golf. You breathe fresh air. You're on your own. You're basically competing with yourself rather than competing with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about your family.
I have a lovely wife. We have been married for probably 200 years. And we spend 24 hours together when I'm home. And I have twin boys. One is an accountant, one is a chiropractor. So in a true sense, I don't have to worry about what I do. I just continue to do what I love and what I'm passionate about. So that's why I'm here today to work, to make sure everybody support public television.
That's terrific. And also, you started cooking when you were, 12 years old? Is that right?
12, 13 years old, because before I was born, my father actually had a restaurant in China. And my father, in the old days, they don't have babysitters, right? So I, as a parent, even here, you ask a lot of Chinese restaurateur. They after school, the kids would come back to the restaurant and do homework at the back of the dining room. So you smell, you get the taste, you get the smell. So we actually developed a very good palate when I was growing up. And then when I was about 13, 14, 15, my father passed away. Before that, then my mother said, go, leave. So I left home. And I went to Hong Kong, and I went to high school. And I don't have any relatives in Hong Kong. That restaurant is owned by my father's village buddy, and they took me in, and I work. I went to school during the day, and after school and on weekends and summer I help out. So they take care of me. So after that, I was sponsored to come over here by a church to come to the U.S. and pursue my dream, my education. So I eventually get a bachelor degree, a master's degree in food science, and at the same day that I received the honorary doctorate degree from Johnson & Wales University with Julia Child the same day.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Wow, we're so glad you're here. Now, who is the most iconic person you've ever cooked for?
I have cooked for a lot of people. I also have cooked along with a lot of people. To me, every single one of us have something to offer. I have the opportunity to cook with Graham Kerr, Emerald, Jacques Pepin, Ming Tsai, and a lot of celebrity chefs. And they're all different. They all have something to offer. They're all very, very good. So, of course, I was so inspired by Julia when I was going to college. So I always look at Julia as my dear mentor and iconic inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you have house guests at your place, what's your go-to meal? What do you like to cook for them?
I cook something simple. You know, food is about nourishing, and as long as it's fresh and it tastes good, you start with the fresh quality ingredient. It can't go wrong. Unless you burn the damn thing, or you overcook or undercook. As long as you pay attention to what you're doing. Cooking is about common sense, imagination. If you have basic common sense, basic skills, and you pay attention. Of course, you put something in the oven and you just walk away and take a vacation for 2 weeks. Everything, when you come back, everything is charcoal, right? So you pay attention to what you're doing.
You've been in my kitchen, huh?
So,
Oh, my goodness. Well, so listen, if you could leave our listeners with one success nugget or something if they're perhaps interested in cooking, what would that be?
I would say follow your instinct, follow your nose, and don't. If the first time it didn't come out, it's not failure, because everybody have different taste. Sometimes you mess up something. Just I'll give you an example. Paul Boudon used to do the red fish, and he burned it. Somehow overcooked them, and everybody loved it because the charcoal grade, just like a barbecue, right? So sometimes you think it's not you're not doing a good job. Don't worry, do it again, and tell yourself, hey, maybe I can do something like this. So cooking is just like magic. You put the right thing together, it'll come out perfect. You put the wrong thing together sometime, it doesn't mean that it doesn't come out. It can be another magic. So just enjoy life, enjoy cooking, enjoy every moment of your life. And don't worry too much about this is something we cannot control. Look at all these wonderful, look at all the turmoil and the challenges around the world. We can only be kind and nice and generous to the people around you, and just be a good person.
I love that. So you are so creative. You have many products, cookbooks, shows on social media. How can our listeners on this podcast find you?
Well, we're on YouTube, Chef Martin Yan. You can find out, or Yan Can Cook, Chef Yan Can Cook. You can see, if you check Yan Can Cook, Chef Martin Yan, you'll find everything. But I think to make sure everybody listen to this podcast, make sure you support public television station and take care of our good, wonderful people working for PBS, provide you all the wonderful programs.
Thank you for that. And Chef Martin Yan, thank you so much for being a part of Business Life After Hours. I'm Kristi Kay, and I'll talk with you in the next Business Life After Hours.
Business Life After Hours is hosted and produced by Kristi Kay. Audio engineering, production, and editing by Chris Pfeiffer. Business Life After Hours is a production of WGTE Public Media.